You have some pea plants. You breed purple flowers with white flowers. What do you get?
Light purple flowers.
Nope, fully purple flowers. What happens then when you breed these purple flowers amongst each other?
Well, their baby plants must be purple as well.
Nope. What you get are some plants with purple flowers and some with white flowers.
The math is not adding up.
We need to understand inheritance first. All parents can pass down traits to us through DNA, the material that genes are made of. These are instructions that determine how our body works. Almost all our cells have the same DNA. The DNA is packaged into chromosomes. Most body cells are diploid, meaning they have 2 copies of each chromosome. However, the gametes or reproductive cells are haploid, meaning they only have 1 copy of each chromosome. Each gamete is genetically different because each gets a different combination of chromosomes. To produce an offspring, a female and a male gamete fuse. This produces a zygote. Do you think the zygote is haploid or diploid?
If you fuse them, you get 2 sets of chromosomes. So, diploid?
Correct! In pea plants, the gene that determines flower color is in one of the chromosomes. However, there are different variations of this gene. We call these variations alleles. Some alleles result in purple flowers, others result in white ones. 2 purple alleles result in purple flowers. 2 white alleles result in white flowers. But when they have a purple allele and a white allele, the flowers will still be purple.
Huh?
This is because the purple allele masks the white allele. When both are present, the purple trait is expressed. We call this allele that takes over the dominant allele and the other one the recessive allele. Let's visualize the example in this diagram, which is called a Punnett square. One plant has 2 alleles for purple flowers and one has 2 for white flowers. Let's write capital P for purple flowers allele and lowercase p for white flowers allele. Here are the possible allele combinations that offspring can take. What do you notice?
All the offspring have a white flower and a purple flower allele.
Good! So what color will the flowers be?
Purple.
Great! Then, what happens if I take 2 offspring from here and breed them to produce new offspring? How would the Punnett square look like?
Like this.
Good! Based on this, what would the flowers look like?
This one would be purple. These 2 would be purple. And this one would be white.
Great job! And this is how you can produce white flowers from 2 purple flowers.
Oh, now it makes sense.
We called the combination of genes the genotype, and the observable trait the phenotype. Multiple genotypes can give the same phenotype. There are examples in humans as well.
Ooh, I'm interested.
One example is phenylketonuria.
What? Again?
Phenylketonuria, or PKU. It is a disease where you cannot break down the amino acid phenylalanine, which can mean brain damage. You could have the gene for it without knowing it.
What?
The gene for PKU is a recessive one. So if you have a copy of the PKU allele and the non-PKU allele, you don't show the disease. However, think about what happens when 2 people who are heterozygous or have 1 copy of the allele produce offspring.
These children are going to be fine. But this one, it has 2 copies of the PKU allele, so they will actually get PKU.
Good! This means that 2 parents who don't have PKU can get a child with PKU.
That sounds scary.
Relax. People with PKU can still live a normal life. They just need to watch their diet so it doesn't contain too much phenylalanine. We can work out the probability that someone will have PKU or is a carrier of the PKU allele with a pedigree chart. Squares are males and circles are females. Shaded means they have the disease. The ones at the top show the parents and the ones below show their offspring. Based on this, what can we conclude about the parents?
What? You haven't given us any information.
I have. Look at the offspring with the disease. What genotype must they have?
Oh, they must have 2 copies of the PKU allele.
Good! This means that they got one from their mother and one from their father. This means that both the mother and the father must have at least 1 copy of the PKU allele. However, given that none of them have the disease, what must be their genotype?
Oh, they must have a PKU allele and a non-PKU allele.
Great! Then, based on that, what is the probability that this offspring is a carrier of the disease, given that they don't have the disease?
They carry the disease in 2 out of 4, so a half.
Almost.
Isn't 2 divided by 4 a half?
We already know that they do not carry the disease, so we need to rule out the possibility that they carry 2 PKU alleles. That leaves us with...
Oh, I know now. It would be 2 out of 3.
Good!
We got all of that from just 2 circles and 2 squares.
I feel like an inheritance expert.
Not so fast. Not everything follows these rules.
Oh, come on!
For some flowers, when you mix a red flower with a white one, you actually get a pink flower.
That's not what you told us previously.
This is called incomplete dominance, because both traits show partially. There is also codominance, where both traits show completely.
How does that look like?
In the case of flowers, this would mean that they have full color patches of each color, rather than a blend. In humans, a classic example is the ABO blood groups.
Oh, I've heard of that.
The gene determines which glycoproteins you have on your red blood cells. There are 3 alleles for it, A, B, and O. For convention, we write them as IA, IB, and I. If you have at least 1 IA allele, you have 1 type of glycoprotein on your red blood cells. If you have at least 1 IB allele, you have another type. If you have both IA and IB, you have both types of glycoproteins. This is an example of codominance. The I allele doesn't produce any glycoproteins, so we can ignore it for now. There is another interesting gene related to blood, hemophilia. This is a disease where your blood doesn't clot after injury, so there is constant bleeding. If you are a male and you have hemophilia, you can be sure that it was your mother who passed the gene to you.
What? Why can't the father pass the gene?
The allele that causes hemophilia is on the X chromosome.
X chromosome? Is that a mysterious chromosome?
No. X and Y chromosomes are special chromosomes that determine sex in humans. If you have 2 X chromosomes, you are female, and if you have an X and a Y chromosome, you are male. If you have at least 1 X chromosome without the disease allele, you don't get the disease. This means that females who are heterozygous for hemophilia don't get the disease, but males who have a copy of the disease allele do get it.
Oh.
Males with hemophilia must have gotten their Y chromosome from their father, because only the father has the Y chromosome. This means that the X chromosome with the disease must have come from
their mother.
Why do these genes exist in the first place? Is Mother Nature trying to kill us?
No, these appear by random chance. When a gene mutates, a new allele is formed. Scientists have a fancy way of calling this type of mutation SNP. It just means a mutation on a single base. These alleles circulate in the gene pool, the collection of genes in a population.
That's interesting. Are there more examples like hemophilia?
Plenty! However, most genes are not that simple. Some traits like height or skin color are caused by more than 1 gene. We call this polygenic inheritance. This can result in a range of phenotypes rather than a few categories. This is further complicated by the fact that height and skin color are affected by the environment. We call this ability to adapt phenotypic plasticity.
How on earth do you work with all of this?
To visualize all the phenotypes and be able to identify trends, we can use box and whisker plots. Not like that. Imagine you had a group of people with different heights. The mean is 165 centimeters. The shortest person is 150 and the tallest person is 190. The lower quartile is 160 and the upper quartile is 170. This is how you would draw the box and whisker diagram.
Oh!
That was satisfying.
We've learned a lot of things today. With the pea flowers, we learned about genotype and phenotype, Punnett squares and alleles. Then we looked at an example in humans, PKU. After that, we saw that inheritance is not that simple. We explored incomplete dominance with the pink flowers, codominance with the ABO groups, sex-linked conditions such as hemophilia, and polygenic variation with height.